Volunteers who save the state money. We talked about the impact of the state parks on tourism, and the parks also has an educational impact too. Lots of children come through these parks, and the naturalists have programs to show them what the world is outside. But I understand that within the next few years, they'll drastically cut the budget of the state parks, and that would be catastrophic. I strongly hope that that doesn't happen. It takes money and us volunteers to keep the high quality of the state parks. To cut that funding would be unreal. I invite all the members of the General Assembly who probably haven't even visited a state park in Western Maryland to visit a state park, and they will change their minds of what they're doing. Also, the DNR had an employee here who, one of their main tasks was to encourage tourism with their western counties. That employee has retired, and that position is not being filled. I suggest that consider at least filling it with a part-time employee to help out with the education and the tourism here in the western counties. So I would pick up a part-time employee to break it back.
So the DNR used to have one person up here whose full-time job it was?
Full-time.
That early retirement sounds really good on paper.
Well, it's going to hurt.
I know.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Thank you for your years with the state. And I just wanted to go ahead and, first of all, thank you for that opportunity. Secondly, the one thing that did give me the opportunity also to do was be a student of history relative to this area. I came here in 1979 and grew to love the place. If you looked out this window 100 years ago, you would not find an area that was suitable for tourism. 110, 120 years ago is when the timber industry came through. It was a time when the narrow gauge railroads allowed the Port of Baltimore access to this area, and the slopes were denuded. It was heavily cut over. I say that because I am very concerned that we learn from that history, that when we look at things like the wind power issue, Marcellus Shale, those are things that could run in direct contravention to everything we're talking about here in terms of this goose that we have that truly gives us a golden egg. And from that standpoint, I guess I just want to go ahead and encourage everybody in this audience to be extremely cautious. I myself haven't made up my mind yet about Marcellus Shale and those types of issues. But I do not want it to be the thing that goes ahead and kills everything that we've worked for the past 100 years to create. Hand in hand with that, Nina touched on a point. What built these areas was a civilian conservation corps. If it wasn't for that type of a manpower program that gave people pride and an opportunity to go ahead and reestablish their abilities, their talents, and their hopes for the future, this area wouldn't be what it is today. The cabins, the pavilions here in Harrington Manor are testaments to what has been done in the past. And I guess when I look at where we are as a society today, and I'm speaking with this with a little bit of passion, I see that we have lost our initiative when we have 25 to 30% of our people on entitlement programs. I know that they may be in need of it, but I would love to see that type of a program established to bring them out to our state forest and parks. We are short on manpower. When I came here in '79, Savage River, New Germany probably had 20 or 30 people working for it. And we were doing things out in the woods. We're not able to do that anymore. The cost has gotten too prohibitive to utilize the local industries that we had before. But I can tell you that I would dearly love to go ahead and bring people out here and run a small crew to be going ahead and doing the things that Steve's talking about, working on trails, doing timber stand improvement to areas that haven't been touched in 20 or 30 years, and really go ahead and reestablish the beauty of these areas to what it was when I came here in '79. The forests were in much better shape then than they are now.
My job job at this time. I mean, I'm the first governor since the Depression never to have a supplemental budget. I remember the supplemental budgets where Paris Glendenning or somebody else used to be able to, you go in and you ask, we just need $2 million more for this, we just need $3 million for that, we just need a check for $316,000, we can complete these trails. I've never had a supplemental. All I have are supplemental cuts. But it looks like we're starting to come out of this. And some of the things that we did, as unpopular as they were 3 years ago, will have us coming out of this stronger than some other states that weren't able to pull off some of that consensus. But it is a nasty diet of cuts. And next year we've got when we did the special session a few years ago, without forecasting the Great Recession, it was anticipated that we'd have about $17 billion in revenues, in general fund revenues coming in. And instead we're at about $14 billion. So we've had to cut now $6.6 billion over the last few years. The recommendations you're talking about are recommendations that Department of Legislative Services staff is putting forward. We've eliminated 4,200 positions, and that was before the 1,500 we're hoping to eliminate because of the early retirement. But we haven't had to resort to some of the massive layoffs that other states have. And you know this from seeing the people that you're in contact with in your state government. I mean, we have, on a per capita basis, we have the 8th smallest state and local government bureaucracy of the 50 states. We have robust formulas for education, but so I think part of our reason for being out here is to encourage everybody to let your delegates and senators know. I mean, they're in Annapolis; they're not absent out of lack of respect. They're doing what we elect them to do, but got to drive home with them. It's always conceptually we all want to cut government, all want to shrink it, all want to reduce the size of it, and then we see how it impacts the things that we have to do. So, I don't know, it's part of the way we're living. I appreciate what you're doing with the volunteers. And John, you'll take a note of that as we figure out how to backfill against the tremendous loss. Yes, sir. Governor, my name is